Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bay Area Content Marketing Meetup. I am Dennis, the organizer. Today, we're thrilled to have a friend of the meetup, Tom Treanor, who's Tom and ARM Treasure Data are both big supporters of the meetup. Tom is going to talk to us today about customer data platforms. Tom, take it away.
Great, thanks, Dennis. Glad to be here talking about customer data platforms, or CDPs. For some people, it may be like a brand or model of car that you've never heard of, and then suddenly, once you hear about it, you'll probably start seeing it around. So I actually have a presentation, so I will fire that up. Just a second. All right, can everyone see that?
Yep, we see your title slide.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about what is a CDP. And feel free to ask questions either during or after. I'll try to get to some, but maybe after. But if I see something, I'll answer in the middle. So what's a definition of a CDP, or customer data platform? A customer data platform, according to the CDP Institute, is packaged software that creates a persistent, unified customer database that is accessible to other systems. So some other things to think about is that it doesn't have to just be the customer data. It can be other related data that affects customers. It could mean that there's now more JIRA tickets for marketing teams to get reports or analysis on kind of customer information. It involves getting data into a system without necessarily getting IT help. And then it's a way for companies to use AI on customer related data points. And it helps people be able to swap in and out different MarTech tools without massive disruption. And we'll talk through some of these things as we go, so you don't have to really grasp why for all these things. But customer data platforms started around 2016, and the term was coined by the CDP Institute, and they started seeing, and the founder of the CDP Institute started seeing types of companies that were creating these CDPs. So he kind of created the name and started tracking companies that he considered customer data platforms. And you can see the growth of vendors went from, a few, so we were one of the early ones, to over 100 now. And so there's been some mergers and acquisitions, and some companies may struggle. But anyway, let's roll. So let's talk about what's driving the demand, and then I'll talk about kind of like the way I think about a CDP, so you can really visualize what it is. So one of the reasons that CDPs are in demand right now is that executives see a significant risk of technology-driven disruption for their companies. So even before a global pandemic and rioting, there were companies that were struggling against digital challengers. Retail was really struggling. You have Tesla turning the automotive industry upside down. Every industry is challenged by newer, more nimble competitors who are technology driven. And so there's a need for them to actually get a better handle on their technology and data, which is CDP is a key part of that. The other thing is that companies, to differentiate, need to focus more on a better customer experience. There's a reason people like that. Amazon like buying experience and the return experience and all that, because companies like Amazon and others have really figured out that customer experience is one of the key things that keeps people coming back for more, and the one-click purchase and all that kind of thing. So personalization, omni-channel experience, so a similar experience on all your different devices with company, where they actually recognize where you've been, what you've been looking at, what you might have purchased before, is important. Another reason is that the MarTech stack complexity, especially for big companies, is outpacing the capabilities of the organization. So all of the different data in all of these different silos, and managing that and kind of shooting it from one silo to another, is just becoming hard to manage for teams. And there's an explosion of customer related data points. So according to McKinsey, sales and marketing, excuse me, are two of the most highly impacted corporate functions from the explosion of data. So as I mentioned before, customer data is locked in a variety of silos. So in a point of sale system, in a customer support system, CRM, marketing automation, web analytics, loyalty program, it's all siloed and optimized for those silos, but it's not really working across silos. And then if a company wants to use AI or machine learning, there has to be a certain scale of data to make that work. And so a CDP allows them to get all the customer data in one place and with information from a variety of channels so that they can actually do analysis and get predictions on future actions and possible churners, possible high value, cross-sell, upsell opportunities by having all the data available. So the understanding and managing these customer relationships at scale, especially for large enterprises, is key to a company's survival. So what exactly is a CDP? So this is how I think about it, and it helps me to think about what a customer data platform is. So every company has first-party data. So you might have multiple business units that have some first-party data for a variety of reasons. You might have some data lake, which has some sort of customer data. You might have a point of sale system, ERP, loyalty program. If you have a showroom, you might have Wi-Fi registrations, email list, etc. So there's a lot of data that your company holds. And the problem is it's not well optimized and it all sits in its own silos. So a customer data platform allows companies to take all of that data into one place. And one of the key things that can be done is the customer data unification. In other words, taking all those records and combining it to get one view of each customer, as well as kind of deduping, so removing the duplicates. And that helps with marketing efficiency because you're not marketing to 100 million customers that you have records for. You're actually marketing to 80 million because 20 million were duplicates, things like that. Cohort analysis, lifetime value, attribution, predictive modeling, all of these things, and of course segmentation and targeting that become available once the data is in one place and unified. So with the data there, you can then activate in the channels. So you can actually do some analysis, segment a group, and then do like a mobile push campaign for certain customers that are, really like to engage on mobile and are likely to buy some new offering, for example. So that helps you manage how you engage with the customers along the customer lifecycle. In addition to the first-party data, there are other potential second and third-party data sources. So second party would be partner data. So if you have when you buy a car, sometimes they'll say, will you allow our partners, marketing partners to contact you, yes or no? So that could be a partner relationship that company has with another company. Then there's also demographic information or information from the post office on moves and addresses and things like that. There can be related data on weather or income trends for certain geography, holidays and events and things like that. That can be put into the customer data platform and combined with your first party data. Excuse me. And then from that data, you can do analysis and visualization. So you can set up reports, you can run analysis, you can look at the results of campaigns, exec reporting and dashboards. And as a reminder, you can activate based on all the data that you have in there in your different channels. So let's now make it real, and I'll show you kind of how some screenshots of how Treasure Data does these things. So when someone starts with treasure data, they have to ingest the data. So we have over 150, excuse me just a second, 150 out-of-the-box connectors that are easy to set up and allow you to ingest the data from these different systems. Once you have that data ingested, then you can really understand each customer. You have a customer 360-degree view. So this is a made-up customer, but you can see, their location, their behaviors, kind of their predictive score in terms of, are they a high-value buyer? What's the next best action? So you can kind of get a picture of an individual customer, but more importantly, you're also going to get context on your whole audience, and different values of lifetime value, cross-sell opportunities. So once you have this context, you can actually segment them into actionable groups that you can run campaigns on or do analysis on. So for example, one analysis could be likelihood to repeat purchase. So the machine learning algorithms will take the different aspects of their interests, their behaviors, their past purchase behavior, etc., and will run analysis and give you segmentation on who's likely to repeat purchase, who's possible, marginal, unlikely. So behind the scenes, there's a machine learning algorithm with these different kind of features that the treasure data system has selected as important for doing this analysis. And it will do the analysis and it will kind of spit out a chart like this with the segmentation. Then you can market differently to the different segments. Another example of analysis and segmentation is upsell and cross-sell. So you can look at products frequently bought together and kind of the audience interests, etc. And you can come up with recommended product combinations, and then you can segment the audience and activate, which means that you might advertise to them, or you might send an email, or you do a campaign based on, these people are likely to upgrade, or these people are likely to purchase another product since they purchased that first product. So kind of like a marketing automation tool works, you can actually create activation rules for the different segments. So for example, if this campaign was the cross-sell, you can determine what kind of actions to take for that cross-sell audience that have a high likelihood to buy another product. And then you can determine where you want to activate against them. So if you look at a company like Subaru, as a case study, very complex diagram, but you can see kind of treasure data sits at the center. We take in all the different data points, and that allows them to activate both in kind of their ad campaigns, email communications, as well as in the dealer itself, the dealership itself. So the salespeople have access to information as well as kind of scoring on who might be more likely to purchase a certain car. So a more simplified version is you can see some example data sources. So digital marketing, app and web data, loyalty data, dealership visit data. Then we did with them the predictive scoring and likelihood to purchase, targeted campaigns that were more personalized. And then also we looked at things from all the way from acquisition all the way through the conversion in the dealerships. And some of the activations were social advertising, landing page optimization based on their interests or their past behavior, and then the dealership intelligence, which is the sales team has access to some information. And so actually the dealership close rate, because the algorithms were able to predict much better than kind of spreadsheet modeling, how likely people were to buy, and to be able to kind of communicate with them better, that they were able to significantly increase the closing rate. They calculated that they grew 100 million in revenue based on the activities, and then they were able to increase their click-through rate 350% on their advertising because of the more personalized messaging. And the value of doing it with a CDP is that you're actually able to get it up and running very fast, rather than building it in-house, which, if anyone's done IT projects in-house, they're often long and laborious projects filled with lots of surprises. So Treasure Data is a CDP vendor, and we've won lots of awards, and very security and privacy concerned. We have global offices and a lot of great customers, over 400 great customers like Stanley Black & Decker, AB InBev, Descent, LG, etc. So that's it for the main presentation. Let me know if there's any questions. Hope that was helpful, and I hope people kind of grasp what a CDP is.
We do have a question from Jeff, but I'm going to ask my own first. It's one that I would guess others on this Zoom also have, which is most of us, Tom, are used to our current stack, like primarily CRM and marketing automation. And perhaps most of us are not using a CDP yet. How do we, what scenarios do we think about in which we might need to consider a CDP?
Yeah, and let's talk about a couple of things. So one is, I would say CDPs are more important for, larger companies. So mid-size to enterprise. And so our particular offering is more enterprise focused. So for Treasure Data, we're primarily talking enterprise. And that's an interesting question about platform costs. So if you look at enterprise software, we're actually on the low end compared to some of the software deals that they'll do. So we're talking like, let's talk like 100,000 a year to a couple million a year type of thing. So compared to some of the deals that some of these companies are doing for other software, it's actually on the small end. There are mid-sized CDPs. So there's a lot of companies that are not as enterprise scale, are willing to kind of negotiate very heavily on price. So yeah, there's kind of the mid-market CDP market. And then for SMB, it's probably not something that you really need to invest in, or that's so much available. But it's good if you're SMB and you're working with enterprise or mid-market companies, because then you're at least aware of something that they might be investing in or working on. And Jeff, I'd say, and I'm not a database expert by any means, and we can definitely follow up with the team more, but basically there are a lot of different data warehouses, but a CDP is built-in connectors to get up to speed fast. It's optimized for customer data management. So an enterprise data warehouse is kind of plain vanilla and has to be customized by an IT team to start to do CDP-like functions. So ingestion, getting all those connections set up, being able to activate out. So they have to set up all those connections to activate out, all the data management capabilities. So I'd say a CDP is kind of prepackaged software optimized for customer data management, while an enterprise data warehouse is just plain vanilla data warehouse that has to have a lot of work behind it and maintenance. And, there's no bells and whistles that come with it. While with a CDP, since we're working with 400 plus customers, we've got a lot of innovation that goes in that gets shared amongst all the different customers. So I hope that helps.
And Tom, those you showed at the beginning, those integrations where you could do the import or ingest, is that a one-time ingest, or is it real time, meaning it's always connected to the data sources?
It's a persistent connection. It's not always streaming in real time. So
Okay.
some connections will be like batch, some
Yep.
connections will be near real time, and this, so it just varies on the different systems and the need, and that kind of thing. And then Rosemary asked about what is the name of the CDP you installed. So our CDP is ARM Treasure Data. I don't know if you have another nuance on that question, but yeah, we don't have a product name versus just our company name.
And Tom,
So,
I happen to,
yep, go ahead.
I noticed on a lot of the those customer logos, you had uh, a lot seem to be B2C. Are there B2B companies using CDPs?
Yeah, good question. So we typically sell to B2C companies, and one of the reasons is because they have huge numbers of, huge customer lists and huge numbers of customer data points coming in. And so, and sometimes it's very transactional. So we do also have some B2B customers. And there are CDPs that are, almost primarily B2B focused. So the difference between B2B and B2C is a lot less customers, and sometimes it's more kind of ABM or relationship based selling. And so they may have a lot less customer data points, but there are some companies where they're at a scale where it's kind of like in between. Or they have one division that's customer facing and one division that's B2B. So if you look at like telecom, a lot of their work is B2B, but they also have the B2C component. So
Got it. And I know
Hey,
some on the, oh, go ahead, Jeff.
sorry, I didn't. So Tom, there's a lot of these CDP vendors coming out from kind of different positions like DMP vendors. There's some CDPs coming from intent vendors, etc. Can you talk to a little bit about, if you come from, whatever your area of strength versus a pure play CDP vendor, what is the benefits or disadvantages, if at all?
yeah, I think as I mentioned, the industry has kind of grown up over the last few years, and there's kind of the pure CDP, which is how we would kind of describe ourselves, which is really focus on the customer data on the ingestion side, being able to get it out as well, and being able to have all the analytics and keeping the data raw, meaning you can actually get to the atomic level of data at any time you want. So in other words, you can drill down to the farthest level and do some analysis or kind of put that data somewhere else. While some systems are more processed, and so you're seeing the data displayed in a certain way, but you can't really drill down below it, and maybe you can't mix and match it in other ways. So I'd say that the vendors that come from not the big data side are often kind of more oriented towards something like maybe it's like a personalization engine, and then they start to add in more kind of persistent customer data underneath that, but they're not coming from the perspective of managing big data at its rawest form and being able to mix and match and do a lot of other things. So they may be optimized for that one capability that they came from, but they're not, especially for an enterprise, they're not going to be able to help them in every way possible.
Thank you.
I have a two-part question for you. One is, if you happen to be hiring, do you want to talk about any positions you're looking to fill? And the second part is, where can folks go to learn more about you or connect with you?
Sure. So we're at treasuredata.com. I'm on Twitter at kind of a complicated Twitter handle. Our team makes marketing. Maybe we can post that in the chat. And I'm on LinkedIn too. Feel free to connect with me. And then we are hiring. I'm hiring for my team a director of marketing in EMEA. I think we have We may have a product marketing manager role that is coming open in Q2 or our Q2. So as of next month. And I'm trying to think, we probably have other roles. I'm trying to think if we have other marketing roles. We may not have other marketing roles other than maybe one PMM and then director of marketing in EMEA. But definitely check out the Treasure Data site for the job openings.
The PMM that might be coming up, that would be Bay Area?
Yes, if I think they have one, and if so, it would be Bay Area. Yep.
Okay.
And we typically don't hire as much virtual roles, meaning like in anywhere. We
Right.
typically cluster around the offices, and obviously right now we're all working from home, but yeah, typically work from an office.
Got it.
I'm assuming, Tom, in addition to ingesting from all these connectors, you also have the ability for APIs to get to that harmonized data from an external system.
Yep. Oh yeah. There's a variety of ways, yeah, for external systems to tap into that data, and we can also, export out to different systems. So there could be a batch process that takes some portion of the data to another, a database that another system can access if they, things like that.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Tom? Feel free to use the chat or unmute yourself. I'll give it a few seconds. All right, well, for those of you on video, why don't we give Tom a round of applause? Thanks for joining us, Tom, and thank you for all the support to our meetup group over the years. Stay safe, and for everyone in the audience, thanks for joining us, and stay safe as well. We'll have more meetups starting next week.
Thank you. Thanks, Dennis.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.